Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. This battle was submitted by Ease through our Discord, which you can join by visiting the link in the description below. It was a battle between two Discord members, Ease leading the Wood Elves and Lavikon leading the Warriors of Chaos. The Wood Elves are led by a Glade Lord alongside two Waystalkers, 4 units of Eternal Guard with shields, 2 ranked up to rank 3 and 2 ranked up to rank 2, 3 units of Glade Guard with Starfire shafts, all ranked up to rank 2, 2 units of Wild Riders with shields, and 2 units of Treekin. Chaos comes to the field with Kolek Suneater in charge, alongside a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire, a unit of Aspiring Champions, 4 units of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, a unit of Chaos Knights, a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and a Hellcannon. As always, we're going to start with a conversation about layout. Now, the Wood Elves do have a relatively interesting layout. The main army here is sort of simple. We've got the Eternal Guard with shields up front, along with the Treekin in the middle, right behind them, all the ranged units, and flying over top, the Glade Lord, of course. Where it gets interesting is the decision to split some of these units far off on the other side of the field. We have the Wild Riders over here, standing in wait perhaps maybe for a flanking maneuver to come in from the rear if the Warriors of Chaos were to charge down and head towards the Wood Elf units, or perhaps hoping to bait something out with these Waystalkers up here on the hill and hit them with the Wild Riders instead. Now these Waystalkers are, as I mentioned, up here on this hill, perhaps to scout if the Warriors of Chaos deployed over here. Either way, they definitely scout immediately, Kolek Suneater charging straight towards them. Now, right off the bat, a little bit of a maybe a misdecision here. This was very unfortunate. This was just bad luck. But given the situation, the Waystalkers should have been split into multiple directions. As opposed to getting those arrows shot, splitting them apart would make it a little bit harder for Kolek to decide who to chase. And you'll notice actually those arrows, even though they seem to hit Kolek, don't do any damage. They fly right past and Kolek continues to charge towards them. As we look at the Warriors of Chaos and their layout, we do have the Hellcannon up front here, just to get full range, able to hit the Wood Elves nice and early, forcing them to have to move towards the Warriors of Chaos, I think. And then we've got, of course, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth off to the side here, a straight line of the Chaos Warriors themselves with the Aspiring Champions in the middle, and then we've got the Chaos Knights back here. So this just makes sure that the flanks were secure and strong because Kolek was back here to start with, and it allows the Chaos Knights to respond to any flanking maneuvers as necessary. Now, let's dive into the action here with Kolek jumping in to the Waystalkers. You'll see not a lot of physical damage to begin with, a little bit of morale damage, but that physical damage is about to come right in, and the Wild Riders are forced to respond right away. They are rushing up there, and they want to try and square Kolek off, try and hold him in place and cause a decent amount of damage. Meanwhile, the Wood Elves are advancing forward, as are the Warriors of Chaos. Now, this Waystalker does manage to get away, and honestly, having seen these Chaos Knights coming in from that rear there, having seen them coming in, the Wild Riders, in my opinion, should have actually peeled off. That Waystalker there is a lost cause. No matter what the attempt is here, if the Wild Riders do get caught up with Kolek, the Chaos Knights are able to come in from the rear and cause a lot of damage to the Wild Riders. That is not an engagement these Wild Riders want to be in. Unfortunately, they do continue onwards, and that allows the Chaos Knights to come in from the side and do a decent amount of damage. Now, of course, with Kolek surrounded, he does get pinned, and that will allow the Waystalker to get away, and unfortunately, though, the Waystalker can only get so far before the Wild Riders have to give up. You'll see about like 10 or 15 meters there. Now, that shot did come in from the Glade Lord, the Arrow of Kronos, unfortunately doing no damage, it looks like, hitting Kolek square, but doing no damage. And meanwhile, you'll see this Waystalker as well, trying to get some shots off. Both of them trying to get some shots off, do a little bit of damage to Kolek, and that's fair. While they're alive, you definitely want to use them as much as you can, but in my opinion, this Waystalker was a bit of a lost cause, and the amount of damage that these Wild Riders suffered as a result of trying to go in and rescue this one Waystalker was not entirely worth it, in my opinion. Now, as these guys are peeling away, or running away, I should say, they should have actually peeled apart. These Chaos Knights are right now able to engage both of them if they were to stop or get stuck in, and they should have really been peeled away and turned around and brought into the Hellcannon back there. Whichever unit was not chased by the Chaos Knights should have been driven around and taken towards the Chaos Hellcannon, or towards the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire. And the reason why I say that is because the Hellcannon is an extremely high value target right now. It's obviously going to open fire as soon as it can, and you can see it does a tremendous amount of damage right away, already getting 9 kills instantaneously. Meanwhile, over here, the Waystalkers, they are being caught off, they are being cut down, chase down, I should say, rather, it would have been a good idea, in fact, to pull these Waystalkers towards the bulk of the army. That way the Eternal Guard with their spears would have been able to get involved, and some of that ranged fire would fall into Kolick, as well as the Shaggoth nice and early, maybe, you know, cause a significant amount of morale damage, or physical damage, I should say, and run them off the field, potentially. So, really, these Waystalkers, given their situation, should have run towards the bulk of the army, just for that assistance that was waiting for them over there. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see these Wild Riders, they are able to disengage, and this is a great chance to send them this way, because again, now the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth has been pulled all the way down here. Would have been great to pull them this way and engage the Hellcannon. Instead, you'll notice in just a bit, as these guys rout, these guys are actually sent back in to cycle in to these Chaos Knights, so that was a bit of a poor decision. Meanwhile, back here in this main engagement, the Glade Lord is sort of hanging around behind, should have been sent in to take out that Hellcannon. Again, failing these Wild Riders coming in for the Hellcannon, it should have been the Glade Lord, or if not the Hellcannon, hitting this Chaos Sorcerer of Fire. Now you'll notice the Prey of Anathrema does go down, holding these Chaos Warriors in place. Decent enough. It does prevent the bulk of the front from engaging at the same time, but all of this ranged fire should have actually focused down on one unit and caused a significant amount of damage, rather than this spread fire causing minimal damage across multiple units. And you'll notice the Hellcannon gets another shot off, doing a decent amount of damage to this already routing unit, and some ranged fire now opening on this Chaos Sorcerer as well. A bit of a bad call there, I would say. Poor targeting. Instead, that fire damage and just the morale damage coming in from ranged fire would have done a lot more against these Chaos Warriors. They are open, they are free to hit, and they're easier to hit than a single Chaos Sorcerer, of course. So if all those archers had been firing into these Chaos Warriors over here, a decent amount of work could have been done, or again, into these Chaos Warriors back here. Now in the meanwhile, you'll notice the Flaming Sword of Ruin does go down, and that affects both these Aspiring Champions and these Chaos Warriors. And apart from the, you know, missile damage bonus, which is useless here, and the magical damage, which is useless here, that extra weapon damage and that fire damage is going to help against these Treekin. So great call there, great location to cast that, and actually sending the Chaos Sorcerer in as well. Meanwhile, all the way over here with the Waystalker has given up. In fact, both Waystalkers have given up, and you'll notice these Wild Riders, rather than being circled around this way, are actually being pulled down. They should have stayed well clear of the Shaggoth and Kolick Suneater over here. And also the Glade Lord just sitting back, relaxing, not engaging the Hellcannon still. I would like to mention, though, just a couple of tips for the Chaos Warriors here. If these Chaos Warriors, instead of sort of clumping in like this, had pulled around and come in from the rear, these Eternal Guard would have been taken care of almost instantaneously. It would have been a lot easier and a lot faster to destroy these two units. Meanwhile, off to the right flank over here, the Eternal Guard could have done something similar. Rather than clumping in, they could have actually come around and come in from the rear and very quickly dispatched of these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, with two of those units coming in from either side, acting as sort of an elf sandwich, or I guess I should say a chaos sandwich. These guys would have given up very quickly, and that would really help. Winning that right flank would help, because then these Eternal Guard could dive into this combat situation here, but instead these Eternal Guard that are hanging off to the side here are victim to Kolick's ability, the Lord of Thunder, I believe it's called, or Lord of Lightning, I forget the name right now, but it does a fair amount of damage, nothing significant, but it does do some damage. Now, Kolick is rushing in this way. Meanwhile, these Glade Guard have given up. You'll notice, finally, the Glade Lord is diving into the Hellcannon, finally getting in to some activity here. Now, a couple of options, actually. The Glade Lord, apart from diving in here, which, again, the Wild Riders could have done as well, the Glade Lord could also have dove into this engagement over here, or this engagement over here. Some rear charges from his original position, or her original position, I should say, could have done a lot of damage. Now, over here, Kolick is charging up towards these ranged units, and good call focusing down on Kolick with the arrows. Despite the scaly skin, you can cause some damage, especially to morale, so good call focusing down there, and these Eternal Guard are pulled away from this engagement to try and hit Kolick. Of course, with their spears, they can do a decent amount of damage there, but you'll notice Kolick just peels in and causes a lot of hurt here, destroying one unit of these Glade Guard right away, and this other unit just manages to hold itself together. These Glade Guard now, they are pulling off to the side just to have their shots not obstructed by the trees, and these Eternal Guard are pulling up as well to hold Kolick in place. Unfortunately, Kolick makes direct contact with the Glade Guard, and they actually stay in melee. They should have been pulled away instantaneously, and back here, these Glade Guard should have opened fire right away. They stopped running away. They should have opened fire right away. Now, back here also, the Hellcannon was actually rescued by these Chaos Knights. They had come in and scared off the Glade Lord, but then a really well put prey of Anathrema holds these Chaos Knights in place, allowing the Glade Lord to get away. So that's exactly what happened down here. The Hellcannon, you see, has taken a decent amount of damage, and the Glade Lord now can actually dive into this melee engagement here, or here, or here. Multiple options for the Glade Lord, and these Wild Riders can quickly take care of the Hellcannon. But instead, the Glade Lord decides to stay up there and fires an arrow of Kronos, doing more damage to the Eternal Guard than the Chaos Warrior. So that's a really unfortunate, again, just some bad luck, but you'll notice the Wild Riders come in and do a significant amount of damage to the Hellcannon. But again, the Glade Lord should have dove in here or here, quickly taking care of one of these engagements just to free up some units. Now the Glade Lord does get activated, but instead of diving into one of these melees and giving some support with some rear charging, some morale damage, and of course the physical damage that comes with that charge bonus, instead of doing that to these melee situations, the Glade Lord decides to go towards Kolic, I suppose in just a minute. Decides to get a view first, I imagine, but you'll notice the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire does drop the Cascading Fire Cloak and the Flaming Sword of Ruin at this point. So that's giving a lot of defensive and offensive strength to especially this bulk over here, and to these guys as well with that, you know, with the situation they're in right now. But mainly in this case, up against the Treekin, that's going to support significantly. So the Glade Lord, there we go, after taking a little peek of the situation, I suppose, dives in towards Kolic Sun Eater. But honestly, it was already done before the Glade Lord had to dive in there. Much better using that Glade Lord, as I mentioned, in one of these 3 melee engagements, just to help maintain the lines a little bit. Now, you'll notice over here, as these Chaos Knights are diving in, arrows are being shot at them. Great call, retargeting, making sure those Chaos Knights aren't able to come in with full force, you know, do as much damage as you can, but a bit of a poor call here. These Eternal Guard are turned around to hit these Chaos Knights, and yes, that makes sense, you know, spears against large, that makes sense, except as these Chaos Knights start to run away, these Eternal Guards follow. Those Eternal Guards should have been pulled back, because over here, this Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is making its way towards the enemy. So that was a bit of a poor call. And over here, the Glade Lord again could have been pulled down just to intercept, to hold him in place and pull some of these guys into some safety, or open fire on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth just to break it. But instead, you'll see it dives right in, gets a good charge in there, and some support from the Hellcannon with that shot, instantly destroying some of these units. And now it's all just a matter of time. The Glade Lord dives into the Hellcannon again to try and dispatch of it, but it's far too little, far too late. You'll see all around throughout the battlefield, the Wood Elves are surrendering, dropping their flags, trying to get out of there. The Glade Lord as well, flying and trying to get out of there. And unfortunately, a victory for the Warriors of Chaos. Now, this battle really came down to some micromanagement errors in the beginning. Splitting troops can really help prevent losses, and sometimes it's better to let a lost cause die. The deployment certainly had a touch of bad luck for the Wood Elves, I have to say, but if the cavalry had shut down the Hellcannon and the Chaos Sorcerer early on, and if the Glade Lord was used in melee, coming in from the flanks and the rear, the battle could have gone very differently. And I understand, of course, you don't want to just sacrifice a Waystalker like that, but the position they were in and the situation they were as good as dead, to be perfectly honest. So rather than sending the Wild Riders into that engagement, putting them into a terrible situation, they should have been kept in reserve or taken elsewhere where they could have actually been useful. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and keep submitting your battle replays. I keep saying it, I think this is one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see some amazing battles come out from the community. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.